She goes to the town hall, looks at the gallows.
I feel like this is one of those sessions where like you all have just got you can't accumulate inspiration. You just keep getting it. Like everybody has like 5 layers of inspiration already. So you're walking through the streets and you walk by the town hall and there's the salty noose hanging there. Yeah.
Well, that's a thing. So she has a moment. I think what she's like, okay, I'm gonna like climb in, I'm gonna sneak in, I'm gonna steal and then she sees the nooses and she's like, I'm gonna go in the front door and see if I can get permission. Mm-hmm. Maybe not get hanged. So
towns with gallows in them.
Yeah, right? Just right out. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see. I gotta roll to see if there's an execution scheduled for today. There is not. There is no execution scheduled for today.
Okay. So she goes into the lobby area.
So the door is shut and locked when you come up to it.
Oh, shoot. Picking lock is probably illegal. She sort of glances at the gallows and like knocks on the door.
Yeah, so you're just standing there knocking. Nobody answers. You hear a voice from down below from the street. You hear someone be like, "Are you trying to get into the council hall?"
Is there any? I'm looking for Eleander Fireborn.
So you turn and look, and there's like a teenager there. He's dressed very nicely. He's got like leather shoes with buckles on them, and he probably has like a tricorn hat that he like takes off to talk to you, and he has like long curly blonde hair. And he looks up and he's looking at you while you're talking, and he says, "Oh, the council hall is closed, at least until tonight. My father and the rest of the town council are meeting. You won't be able to get in without an invitation."
Sure. I wouldn't be able to get in without an invitation. Is there anything else in this building other than a hall for meeting? Are there?
And he walks up onto the platform, starts walking over to you, and his little shoesies are jingling. And he says, "No, all of the important business in the house or in the town usually finds its way to the houses of important families, like mine. We've got records going back hundreds of years in the basement."
Records of
who married who, whose children belong to who owns what ships, various yields of the sea, types of fish, that sort of thing.
Anything about lands, buildings, conflicts?
And he kind of scowls and he says, "Why would anyone want to know about that? Saltmarsh is a pretty boring place most of the time, not a lot of fighting."
Well, that's why you'd want to know about it, because when it happens, it's important.
And you see him, he doesn't even listen to that sentence. He's just looking at you and he's like, "You came in on that ship yesterday. You're an adventurer, aren't you? Are you from Waterdeep or Neverwinter? Ooh, or have you come as far from Boulder Gate? Where?" And he like kind of takes a half step towards you and he's like, "You're Tabaxi. That's right, isn't it?"
Yes.
I've never seen one of you before.
Congratulations.
So where are you from?
I'm looking for the chief of guard, police guard people.
Why? He's so dull. What do you want to know? I know basically everything there is to know about Saltmarsh.
Because he's important.
Well, I'm important too. And my father's very important, so.
You're important by proxy. He's important because of who he is.
He doesn't know what the word proxy means, so he's just like, "I'm regular important." And he says, "Well, maybe if you're nice to me, I can introduce you to my father."
I am not asking to meet your father, although I appreciate your desire to achieve positive affirmation from me by asking for it. That doesn't seem like a good way to get what you want. That means it wouldn't be genuine.
She's like way over his head emotionally. She's like, "Well, fine. I suppose if you don't want to have important friends, good luck being successful in Saltmarsh."
I already have important friends.
Fine. Well, I'm sure all you have to do is commit a crime and then the captain of the guard will be all over you. I've got important things to do, so good day. And he gives you like the most sarcastic curtsy you've ever received.
She genuinely thinks about what if I just committed a crime, and then she's like, no, because I wouldn't get caught, so that wouldn't help me.
Yeah, killing teenagers is not so unappealing now, is it?
I mean, that wasn't the crime she was thinking of. She was gonna break and enter, but
Yeah,
okay.
That's true. Yeah, so he storms off. He's just like, good day to you. Yeah, and if you wanna try to just find.
Yeah, she'll look around for someone on the guard and see if she can get them to tell her.
Yeah. You see somebody walk by, and you can tell he's a guard because he's spinning a baton around and he's whistling.
Whoa.
That's how you can tell. He's just.
Oh, we are in Blackpool. Okay.
Yeah, he's just walking up and down the street, trying to figure out what's all this then.
You there, guard? What day is it today?
Yes, it's Saint Saltsmith's Day. So yeah, there's a guard, and yeah, you wanna go over to him? Okay, yeah. So he's on beat. He's walking around. He's just like waving to people at the stalls and stuff in the market. Taking a look at a fish and being like, "Ooh, that's a good fish. Nice catch today." And he sees you coming unless you're trying to be stealthy.
No, she's not, because he wouldn't see her if she was.
Yeah.
And she needs to talk to him. She sort of like taps him on the shoulder or whatever when she gets near.
Yeah,
him.
I think if you walk over, you're weird enough looking that he would notice you. And he says, hello, how can I help you?
I'm looking for Mr. Fireborn, Captain Fireborn, guard.
So when you say Mr. Fireborn, he kind of grins like, oh, you dumbass. And then you're like, Captain. And he's like, yeah, that's right. He's the captain. And he nods. And he says, what need have you of Captain Fireborn?
I have some questions for him.
Oh, maybe I can help you.
What do you know about sahuagin?
So what now?
Yeah, I don't think you can help me.
And he nods like, right. Well, the captain's this way. And he like looks around. He's like, yeah, I think I can take you there myself. And he's happy
She's
to
like,
lead you.
oh, they're not going to see it. You're fine.
Yeah, because he's worried. He's like, well, I'm on patrol or whatever. So, let's go. So, so he leads you over to the edge of the market. And actually, the captain is just finishing up a conversation with like someone off of a boat, a sailor, and they're talking and kind of laughing. And then, yeah, you see this guy. So, Eleander Fireborn looks like a man who, in his youth, got in a whole lot of fights. The skin that you can see, like he's wearing a breastplate. He has I think probably like he's one of those guys who has like long, if it was down, he'd have like long gray hair, but he's got it up behind him in like a ponytail. He's got a big scar on his face and his neck. He's missing a leg and has a wooden peg there instead. He still looks like he works out. He's a pretty big dude, and he's talking to the sailor, and they're laughing at some private joke. And the guy walks up, and the guard, and he's like, Captain. And Captain Fireborn turns. He's like, yes, Sergeant. And he's like, this
Jewel
here was looking for you in the market. And the captain looks over at you, and he smiles, and he says, well, looks like you've found me, Jewel. And the guard is like, sir, gives you a little salute, turns, ma'am, and then goes back to the market.
I'm Jewel.
Yes, so I heard. I'm Eleander Fireborn, captain of the town's guard, so don't make trouble. He puts out a huge, meaty hand.
I never make trouble.
He looks you up and down, and he squints. Do you want to make a deception check, or is it clear that that's a lie?
You know what? She'll try. I actually have deception. That's like the one thing that she is.
Yeah, do it.
9. No.
A 9. Okay, good. Let's see. What's wisdom bonus +1?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Nope, he believes you. So he nods. He's like, well, good, because we can't have trouble in my town. Not on my watch. Not today. Not tomorrow.
Well, actually, speaking of trouble, I've heard there's some concerns with things coming from the Zorth.
Yeah, right. A terrible plague of monsters from the Zorth. He curses in Gnomish. I don't know if you've probably heard it spoken before. You don't understand it.
No.
He curses in Gnomish, and then he says, "So you've heard about that? You've only been in town a couple of days, but maybe that's why you're here."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. He. Do you speak Elvish?
No.
Okay. He says like an idiom in Elvish, and kind of like scratches his stubbly chin. Well,
well, I'm sure everyone here has the problem largely under control in terms of a military response. It seems like there might be an underlying reason why these sahuagin would be doing this now. That might be worth investigating.
He scowls and he says, I don't understand. You some kind of big city thinker come here to figure out why these creatures are the way they are? They're monsters. That's why. And you'd best avoid them if you can, kitten. They're bloodthirsty. They got a taste for it now. Trust me.
Don't call me kitten.
And he scowls and he's like, well, look at you.
Just takes a very deep breath. I think we just hear the very low, like,
Mm-hmm.
feel like her hand twitch towards Cricket.
Yeah. I mean, you did
Even
convince him that
monsters.
you were helpless. Yeah, and he says he looks down, he looks at you, and he says, I lost my leg fighting creatures like that. And if these
Even monsters have a reason to act.
Right, they're
Whether
evil.
It's
Villains
instinct.
through and through, born nasty, spawn of Malar, hungry for flesh and blood. But not on my watch. Not today, not tomorrow.
This guy doesn't know what Malar is about.
So,
No.
okay. When did this start?
He says, well, some weeks ago, we hired some adventurers to go and investigate a smuggling situation. Only turns out they were selling weapons to the lizard men, which we thought, all right, now we got a lizard man situation. But then we found out it was a shark man situation.
Right. And how long has it been a sharkman? 2 weeks? Did anything happen 2 weeks ago? Anyone show up? Anyone leave? Anything break? Get destroyed? Stolen?
Well, as far as I know, they've been up there forever. Waiting. Feeding
But why
on
now?
lizard man flesh.
Why now?
Well,
Do
'cause
they
those-
suddenly have enough people to fight the lizardmen?
Well, those
What's changed? Do they spawn every few years? You're infuriating.
your intentional pronunciation of it as lizardman makes me think it's just one guy in a suit, like Jake Lizardman, attorney at law. Because, well, now that Lizardman's dead, we have no one to defend us. He says, well, if those lizards had put up a better fight, then there wouldn't be no problem, would there? But they are cowards, fled out into that swamp, and now we're straight in their sights.
So I'm sorry, your meat shield isn't around anymore. What are you planning on doing?
Well, we're going to take the fight to them. We got some soldiers, and the other fish folk, the good ones, they've offered to pitch in some help. But, well, we're at a bit of a, let's say, intelligence deficit. We need some people.
Really?
He doesn't understand. He's just been insulted. He nods. He nods, and he says, that's right. We put the feelers out, sent out word that we were willing to pay for folks willing to sneak in and take a look around before the big battle. But, well, nobody came.
How much are you willing to pay?
To save the whole of Saltmarsh? Well, it's a matter for the council. I couldn't say myself, but plenty.
Well, they may have found some people.
Is that so?
Yes. Ideally, she would like to wait for him to like turn around and not be paying attention to her and then just disappear.
Oh, you want to try to Batman him?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, you're
But
going to
I
have
don't
to...
think she thinks she can get away with
You're
that.
gonna have to orchestrate that situation, right? You're gonna have to like get him to turn around because he like looks you up and down. And remember, you started this conversation by convincing.
No, she knows.
You started the conversation by convincing him that you're not trouble at all. So he's just like, "Aw, you're here to fight the bad guys."
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's keeping that under control.
Yes, I heard some great adventurers came in on the boat.
I had heard tell there were some strangers in town.
The sexy water cow.
And he just rolls his eyes. He says, well, if you are here to help, then you and your friends can come to the meeting tonight. We'll hear you out.
Great. By the way, is there documentation or information on, I don't know, when buildings happened here and people come and go and history stuff?
He gives you a blank look like,
do you have a library?
Like he knows that word, but can't imagine a use for such a thing. We've got 3 taverns.
Okay. Great. Bye-bye now.
You have a good day. And he says something to you. You don't speak Dwarvish either, right?
Nope.
Okay, cool. He says something in Dwarvish and then gives you a little salute.
This nerd likes his foreign idioms, doesn't he?
Right?
Yeah.
She like sighs, and I think Jewel will try and just walk into the important person's house and look at their documents in their basement.
So you just want to pick like a random noble's house and break into it? You have a few options.
She wants to find the bratty teenager.
I think that's the Prime Water house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you head off towards that house. In the meantime, 8, what are you up to? What is your mission?
I was sent to speak to a dwarf.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so you're like way the fuck over here on the other end of town. There is an office up here where the mining concern does all their business. They're not really like welcome in town, so they've kind of like rented a building further outside. And that is where you find yourself, outside of the of Manistrad Copperlock's house, / the office of the Manistrad. I guess it'd be the Copperlock's mining concern. So that's where you're at.
I suppose I have to go in.
Yeah, you hear, I mean, you see when you get here, there are a bunch of people, dwarves for the most part, and a few humans standing around talking and like unloading carts and like having discussions. It's kind of like a little like area where like people are working.
We got to talk to the boss, so I'll knock.
I think when you walk up, people like stop to like look at you, be like, "Whoa, what the hell is that thing?" And yeah, you walk up, and I think she comes to see you because someone is just like, I don't recognize this creature. Go get Miss Copperlock. She'll know what to do. And so she comes up to you, and you see her walking over. She is, as I mentioned, a dwarf. She would be probably a shield dwarf. So as a result, is like 4 feet tall and about 3 feet across. She is wearing just like plain clothes. She's dressed like a miner. Just like sturdy boots. She's got she's got her hair in braids. And then I forget, in the Forgotten Realms, do lady dwarves have beards? I think it's
not in
I
the
do not believe so.
I don't think they do. Okay, all right. So and she's got a look like curious, but kind of like, I don't want there to be trouble. So so she sees you coming up, and she sees you're bristling with weapons. She puts a hand up, big meaty hand, and she's like, "I'm gonna have to stop you right there. Now, I don't know what your intentions are. I don't know who you are, where you come from. But you can understand it might get me a little worried seeing a man of your stature." She squints. She's like, "Or a creature? or a woman?
No, not a man. A creature.
And
will
she's
do.
like, it speaks. Well, before you say
Yes.
anything else,
Mm.
now you're covered in weapons, friend. And that's got me worried. And so when something like this happens, I think, all right, Manistrad, what do they want? What are they doing here? And I might assume in my more paranoid days, you're here to kill someone or hurt somebody. And these people, well, they're my responsibility. So I got to be sure that's not what you're here for. So if you could just go ahead, set down that beautiful arsenal of yours over there, then you and I can talk about what it is you are doing here. Does that sound
Oh.
reasonable?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
All right. Now you'll see I'm not armed. I haven't called my guards. No reason for anyone to get worried. So if you'll just go ahead, and she gestures next to you, just put all your weapons down right there. You and I can talk.
Yes, and I start putting the weapons down and say, in the interest of transparency, I just like hold up both my hands. It's like I was also trained to kill people with my bare hands, but I am not intending to, and I can't take them off.
Right. Well, how about this as a compromise? Looks like you're going to strangle anybody. We'll revisit this conversation.
Fair enough. I don't plan to.
All right then, my metal friend. Take a walk with me. And you see her look back behind her, and there are like a couple of dwarves like holding axes and stuff like nearby, where they're just like, uh-oh, like maybe Miss Copperlocks is in trouble, and she just kind of gives them like a stay at a distance. Like, don't worry. If this gets out of control, like, yeah, come help me, but like, give us some room. And she starts walking along this like road along the cliffside with you, and walks slow because she's a dwarf, but also because she's just like, it's a leisurely stroll.
Yep.
Yeah. So as you walk, she says, so I bet you get this a lot, but that's fine craftsmanship. You get mistaken for a knight in armor, I guess.
Sometimes just a construct, but I'd like to believe that the creation process yielded something slightly more than that.
Well, I've seen a golem or two in my day, but you're different, special. You from Lanton?
Another plane, I'm given to understand.
Can't say as I understand what that means, but I guess I was right.
Yes. I suppose onto the matter that I came here for, and
Yeah, right down to business. All right then.
appreciate you being willing to speak with me.
Well, if I've got a flaw, it's my curiosity. And once we figured out you didn't want to murder anybody, well, figured it was safe enough.
Yes, should be fine. I believe I was made to protect. That's a recent revelation, anyway.
Well, you're lucky then. I'd say more than half the people that walk on this plane, they and she says it like wink, like, see, I get it. I'm using that word you used. We walk around not having any idea what we're here for. But you and I, sounds like we're different. I figured out my purpose right quick too.
Oh, I've not had many years yet. So, still up for debate. We were here to help deal with the shark people, the sahuagin.
Yep, that is going to be a problem. You know, you spend most of your life underground in the mines dealing with goblins. Every day it's goblins. Find some gold, fight some goblins. Find some silver, fight some goblins. Make a sword, use it to kill goblins. So I said, you know what? I've had enough in the mines. I'm going to go topside, see what I can find.
I understand that. Within the last 4 days, I have killed just over 60 goblins by myself. Well, my companions were there.
So
but
she
those were the ones that I
stops.
killed.
She stops. Like, abruptly and looks you up and down. She's like, well, damn.
It's probably been more like a week.
And she
Oh, yeah, it might be
puts her hand on her chest and she says, I mean this deeply from the bottom of my stone cold heart on behalf of myself and every other member of the dwarven race. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. These things are vermin. So I come up here and I think, great, no more goblins. They don't have goblins in the sea. More fool me. Goblins in the sea. Should have known.
They are similar in temperament then, or intent.
Ferocious. Hungry from what I understand. I don't ply much with boats. Make me sick to my stomach. And not the concept, being on them. I don't like the ocean. Don't trust it. I'm like a chinchilla that way. I'd rather roll around in the dirt to get clean than take a bath, if you know what I mean. But
I think it's problematic.
I can't swim either. Don't feel bad about it.
Yes, we were hoping to get some frank estimates as to the current military situation before politics got involved.
A little late for that, I'm afraid.
Seems so.
There's a nice, thick fault runs right down the people of Saltmarsh. There's people who can see the future, who appreciate good, strong workers, who understand the value of a silver vein and maybe more. And then there's everybody else who thinks there's not to be had but fish and sadness. I care about this town more than help me. I do. But these humans. And they say dwarves are stubborn.
I know what you mean.
If we survive all this business with these sea goblins, and she like spits over her shoulder off the cliff, well, there'll be talk to be had. But I think we're in alignment on this one that we got to deal with this problem. And not just the people of Saltmarsh, but the outsiders too. It turns out there's elves in the sea, and walrus people, and all kinds of other creatures. I've been to the Underdark once or twice, so I've seen a thing or two, but who knew? Living in the sea.
How would you see anything?
Yeah, see, I get it. I like you. You're funny.
Thank you. I'm glad that you feel this way. It is refreshing. I was happy to not be picked to speak to any of the lords or merchants.
I just don't have any patience for it. It's all bullshit. Like you said, I figured out my purpose early on, and that's to listen to the rocks and the dirt. Because if you listen right, this beautiful earth, and she like crouches down and like gets a handful of it and like smells the dirt. She's like, it'll tell you things. Like where the damn gold's hidden. There's gold. And more. I think we might even be able to find... I'm getting ahead of myself. Doesn't matter. If everybody's dead, I don't have anybody to work those mines. So all I care about is that this town survives. We'll deal with these stubborn fisher folk later.
To that end, I suppose, what aid are you able to provide?
What aid can I provide to who?
The town's defense.
Yeah. No such
I
thing.
saw your guards.
Yeah, she's like, no such thing as a dwarf who can't fight. Plus, we may not be any good on boats, but we can defend the land. Those things got to come up on this hill to get me. Or any of mine. And we'll fight them off when they try. We can give as good as we get, and then some.
All right, that is heartening. The guards that I saw seemed fairly trained, but what do we expect of humans?
She says, but we could use some help. What brought you to Saltmarsh?
Well, since we are being open, one of my companions heard that there was a cult of Merkelites. One of our members, being a cleric who unfortunately worships, thought that they would fraternize, I suppose. Perhaps she was lonely, but also were told on the way about this sahuagin threat. And we are fairly good at killing things.
Yeah, go with what you're good at, but I don't know who Mercolite is. It sounds like some kind of mineral. I don't know. These human gods, there's so many of them. Who can keep track?
That one's dead, even. It's confusing.
Puts her hands up like humans. Like, I don't.
Yeah, and I say like some kind of dwarven saying about humans in the same way that she's doing, like back to her.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Something about too much oxygen getting to their heads above ground or something.
You're
like
right.
that.
When you say something in Dwarvish, her eyes go wide, and she's just like, in Dwarvish, she's like, "What a weird accent you've got. Which caves are you from? Where'd you learn that?" And obviously, you have a extra planar Dwarvish accent, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah. It's like one of the master smiths of House Tanis. It was like a noble house, but they did things.
and
Created warforged.
yeah, she's just shaking her head slowly, and she's like, "Now, Lord and be praised. Today's a miracle day. I get to gaze upon such a fine work of engineering as you, and I didn't get killed, and I bet you anything I made some money today, so pretty good for." She looks around. Well, it's before noon. And hey, if we can survive this whole shark man invasion thing, then she shrugs. I hope you stick around.
Perhaps we were simply diving into some dungeon in Waterdeep. It was entertaining, but there are more things to do in life than caves. No offense.
She laughs and she's like, "I've learned that myself. Took me a while, you know. Get over the she like looks up at the sky. There's just so damn much of it."
Certainly is.
You're not even to impress her with some of your dwarvish hate. It's going so well. I'm only joking.
So she
She already did.
yeah, so she turns. Yeah, the conversation has switched into Dwarvish now.
Yeah.
And so she turns and
missed
she
that.
says,
Damn.
"Well, if you're here to help, then I'll take it. You come to that council meeting. If any of those humans try to give you a hard time about getting in, I'll vouch for you personal. They may not always like me, but they like my silver."
I very much appreciate that. Yes, we were wondering how. Well, I hope to see you in the evening then. I believe I'm needed for perhaps another task in there.
Yeah, and then it occurs to her. She's like, "Well, hang on. I'm it's rude of me. I'm Manistrad. I figured you knew that already. You come looking for me.
Yes.
What's your name?"
8. For
8.
now.
I like that. Now, is your name the common word for the number 8 and thus meaningless in Dwarvish? Or do you say the number 8 in Dwarvish?
I say the number 8 in Dwarvish. I would say it in whatever language.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so she nods and she's like, simple. I like it.
Been thinking about it for a while, but for now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you've kind of like walked like full circle back around, and you've come back to her like place of business, and it's clear there are a bunch of people hanging around waiting to talk to her, right? So she turns to you. She's like, "Hal, I got a mining company to run, so I'll see you tonight."
Yes. And I begin re-equipping like
Yeah,
Javelin 1.
just like it's gonna take me 3 hours to just like
this is
commando all
a
this shit again.
situation.
Okay, cool. All right. So you get all reassembled, and I feel like probably the next thing is like the council meeting, right?
Probably.
We didn't
Yeah, I
talk
think
to
so.
we didn't talk to Prime Water. That was
Yeah, and you and Jewel didn't get a chance to like break in, but I feel like giving everybody a chance to like have a scene.
Yeah, totally.
To be fair, like Jewel, you probably wouldn't have found anything anyway, because it doesn't seem like it would be a lot of like. So you know what? You can flash back to having broken in if you want later, if you feel like a moment of like, wait a second, I might have a record of this, or what have you. But let's see how much counsel we can do in the time we have remaining. So you were invited to the council. I think putting word out there that you're like around. They expect that you're there. The townsfolk all gather in the market in the square to like see what's happening. And there's all this like rumor like burbling around where people are like, I hear we're gonna find out what happened with the lizard man, or like I saw that there were like merfolk in the harbor, and all of this like kind of stuff. And seeing you does not ameliorate that, right? People are like, oh, look, more adventurers. And so you were brought in, you're allowed inside into the council chamber. And as promised, you see everyone that you expected to be present. Now, do you bring Anders with you and try to get him in?
I think
That was like a big long pause that sounded like a no to me.
I just didn't know if anybody else had strong opinions.
Yeah, no,
about
like, because you could
Jewel
leave
does
him.
not care.
Because he'll just be like, ah, shucks. Like, dang, my mom would have gotten in, but I can't.
Yeah, it's
If he
I
had
think-
any desire to go, maybe.
Okay.
yeah.
But
I think it's your
Expresses
call.
like if he expresses like an aw shucks, then Rin's like,
I don't think so.
"Oh, you don't
He's
give
very
a shit."
he
Okay.
knows that he's not important yet, and unless you suggest it, he just stays home.
Oh, okay, well then.
Actually, after my talk, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, she definitely did mention people looking towards the future of the town being a good thing, and
Yeah,
that
for
probably in the back of Eight's mind is like, maybe he should be there for posterity
For,
and
like,
to
later.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, to learn, even if he's not important right now. So I might suggest a Rin.
All right, we'll bring him. We'll bring him along.
Okay.
If Eight is like, we should bring him, I'll be like, oh, okay.
When he comes in, Gellin and Ada both give him a look like, this guy, really? Like, what is he doing here? Who invited him? So the council hall is, again, like very old and stone and kind of drafty. And I think it's probably starting to get like stormy outside. There's like a wind blowing and it's starting to get dark. And inside there's a big round table with chairs all set around it. And you see some familiar faces, right? You see Ada, you see your friend, you're all like given space at the table to sit. You see a dapper looking older gentleman with a neatly trimmed beard and fancy wardrobe, who you have not seen before. You see the peg-legged captain of the guard, who's dressed up a little bit for this. You see Manistrad. And then you also see the other members of this party. So there are two lizard folk. You see them at the table. And they're like kind of like, I guess they're trying to like sit, but their legs don't bend properly, so they're sort of like perched at the edge of it and like nervously like tapping. One of them's tapping their claws on the table. One of them is like a dull kind of greenish rust color. The other is a much brighter. They have like a yellow, like a belly and like stripes of bright and dark green on their back. That
sit
one's
like
smaller
Jewel.
than the other. Yeah, right, exactly. They're trying to like sit in a human seat. And actually maybe there's a moment there where like the larger like female, she looks over at you and sees like you sitting and she gives you kind of an eye roll like humans. So you see them. So you see the lizard men. There are also, how many of these things? I'll show you a handout, but there's only one of these. Okay.
Oh my god, they're so
Oh man, they're cute.
Yeah, it's like a newt man or something.
Come with the otter.
He doesn't know. He doesn't have a seal with him.
Or seal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he like flops into the room and like looks at the chair and then just knocks it over. And like a servant comes over and picks it up, and he just comes over and like plumps his little arms on the table, like puts his chin on the table. And then you hear a creaking sound, this repeated creaking sound. And then you look, and some servants have pushed the door open, and two humans like are struggling to push this giant copper bathtub into the room, like pushing it in. They push it up to the table, and then from its surface, you see a you see a lady that looks like this. So
Whoa.
she has like enormous like fins on the back of her head, and she's got this kind of translucent blue skin. And she kind of like emerges from the pool, and water is like dripping off of her, and
He's
she
my
kinda,
favorite
like,
one now.
looks at everyone in the table. And once everyone is assembled, I think that the loudest member of the assembled party, which is, what's his name? Matt's dad. He
Matt's dad.
speaks up.
Gellin.
There are a lot of NPCs at this part. Yeah, Gellin Primewater. So Gellin begins with kind of like a little warm-up speech, right? And he's like, we have assembled this council of war to prevent the destruction of our beloved town, and to prevent the ongoing danger that these shark men represent to the waters around it. And he looks at the various things. We regret our inability to act sooner, that we could prevent tragedy. And he looks at the lizard folk, and they kind of like nod. The smaller one like nods, and the big one kind of gives him a like, they both look angry all the time, but she gives him a look like, yeah, you should have listened.
Yeah, I don't imagine they're particularly emotive.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because they're lizards. And he says, our meetings, both private and public in this regard, have led us to where we are today. The defense of this region is inevitable. We've gathered forces as we can. Dwarves, lizard folk, our aquatic friends have all contributed, those who are willing and able to fight, and we believe that we could stand a chance. But it has come to our attention that our call for help has been answered. And he turns to the group of you all sitting together. Now, we have worked with these kinds of people before, and I know this is a matter of disagreement in this council. And you see, like, a couple of people, especially the old lady, just fold her arms like, fuck them, we don't need them, they're outsiders. And he says, and those complaints have been logged in the record and in the minutes, and we understand and we hear them, but we have worked with adventurers in the past, and it has helped us. They have abilities, skills, necessary demeanor for this sort of thing. And for that we thank you. Pay homage to whatever gods it is that brought you here before us. I ask you, are you willing to give us your aid? Can you help us protect our city? Because without you, it may be that we are lost.
I believe so, I say, looking between people and like speaking up for the group.
I have given my word to one of the council members that I shall.
Yeah, and there's like a smile between, everyone catches this, a smile between the dwarven woman and 8, and she nods like proudly like, yeah, we're doing it.
Sure. Why not?
So he says, good. Now, our lizard folk friends will be able to provide us with a map and some information about their former lair in which these shark creatures now live. They occupy the home these lizard folk once lived in and were driven out. And what we need you for is to find out just how dire these straits are. You need to go there and find out how many warriors, how many lieutenants, what kind of battle troops we are looking to clash with. If you can find any weaknesses in their fortress, their barracks, or where their leaders are housed, any important defensive measures, traps, barricades, creatures they have defending their lair, what we can expect, and return home with that information. Then we'll be able to take the fight to them and protect our town. Now, it's a dangerous task. Yeah, we know that, and we're willing to pay you if we survive. But I think you are motivated by more than just money. I believe that the gods have set you here before us because they recognize that Saltmarsh stands on a precipice. On the one hand, and he starts off into a tirade that is like clearly not meant for you, right? That is just like they've had this political conversation. It becomes partisan where he's just like, we have to band together because if we don't, and he gets into this whole like we have been beset by enemies before, right? To one side we have Neverwinter, and the other Waterdeep trying to take our freedom away from us. And he kind of gets into this thing, and they start like debating and the I think at some point like the lizard folk are like, Jesus, these fucking humans. And unless you say something, I think that it is it's the merfolk that interrupts the meeting. So she
I want to hear this, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. So she slams a fist on the end of her like bathtub, which rings like a bell, and everybody kind of stops. And she says like quietly, "Enough." And the humans all like everybody kind of turns. She hasn't said anything yet, and she says, and you can see she's struggling, right? Like her gills are like pumping, like she gets air in her lungs, and then she has to talk before she has to go back underwater again. So she speaks with fairly short words.
There's a lot of diving going on.
Yeah, well, she only says enough to get one sentence out, and then she's done. And she says, "You humans bickered long enough to ignore us when we warned you first. Then again, when you saw what happened to the lizard folk, our allies," and she looks at the like rubbery like walrus boy, and she says, "Our allies and I have heard enough. We offer our aid, but only if you are willing to cooperate. You can bicker amongst yourselves when survival is assured." And that kind of like shuts them up. And she like sinks back down into the water. And you can see her like making like an angry face, and like bubbles come up. And
Kate's nodding, like very, very visibly. It's
and
like, yeah.
the big rubbery dude, he's a Lokatha, I think is how you pronounce them. He says, "We are ready to help, but first," and he turns to you. He says, "You must learn what you can. Go north."
We'll see it done, assuming that we can get the maps from you fine folk. I say like towards the lizard men.
Yeah, and the woman nods, and she says, "Yes, Garut and I will show you our maps. Come. This council has only human words. We must show you. This way." And she stands up like, "Fuck you, we're done. This meeting's over."
To business then. I say like, sure, and follow.
Okay. All right. So you do. And I think that the Saltmarshians, they do just go back to bickering. About like, we have to do this, and like, yeah.
I feel sorry for angry merfolk lady who's stuck there until
they wheel her out. Yeah, and I think probably now that your task is before you, I think we can probably fade out there. And when we come back, Vith, Garrett, and their map, they will show you what lies before you, and they'll tell you about their former lair, now occupied by the horrible forces of the sahuagin. Yeah, cool. So yeah, it at least starts as a reconnaissance mission to sneak into the fortress lair of the sahuagin and come back.
We have never once done a reconnaissance mission that hasn't ended in a murder all the things mission.
So I will say this. You go in, you can explore and do some stuff. What you do and find out there when you come back there is a big chance at the end for like participating in or like orchestrating the assault on the stronghold.
Yeah.
So it does lead up to that business. So
Cool.
I want to
Yeah.
fire a ballista.
yeah, right. There were definitely some options for like naval combat and what have you. So
we
What
got
if
Merfolk
Jewel
on our
just
team,
Assassin's
we win
Creed her way
anything.
through this?
what's that?
What if Jewel just Assassin's Creed's her way through this?
Mhm. Yeah, you totally could.
Sneak to where the lead sahuagin is, just cut their throat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, have a long out of character, like out of time cutscene where you talk to the sahuagin as they're dying. Like that's
Right. I don't even know why,
I
but
was
yeah, it
just
happened.
trying to find a place for our people to live in safety from the dragon that someone else unleashed from the bear.
Oh, whoops!
But
Yeah.
now you have killed me.
Oh no, actually, I mean the thing about sahuagin, there's actually some really good new sahuagin art in this, and like several variations of sahuagin. But
Sahuagins.
they pretty much are like voracious sea goblins.
Yeah.
And there is like an extra thing where they like have blood frenzy and stuff, and they
Yep, we dealt with that before.
you
If
did
you take
that's right.
damage,
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Sahuagin.
Yeah, in this, let me see, in this
Sahuagin.
adventure, there's
everything has advantage all the time. Just don't get hit.
10 variations of sahuagin. So
That's cool.
if you want more shark goblins, including the sahuagin blade
If
master,
you feel that you don't have enough Sahuagins
Yeah,
in your
get
life,
it.
Is the Sahuagin Blade Master have a magic
Yeah.
sword?
Sahuagin blade master.
I feel like
I'm
it's
just
not gonna have a
imagining
magic
the-
sword,
I'm
but
just
if it
imagining
does,
the Warcraft 3 Orc Blade Master, but a
you can have the
Sahuagin.
first one.
Right? Yeah. Fish samurai. Exactly.
Yeah. His blade seeks vengeance.
Yeah. I always said sahuagin, but there are conflicting reports on how these things are pronounced, which is like real life.
It's also it's obviously Sahuagin.
Sahuagin, I think is how it's properly.
Say who again?
Say who again?
Say
Say
who
who one more time. They speak English in who? Perfect. All right. Well, we'll catch back up with the undersea hijinks.
It's pronounced
Next
Susan.
Sahuagin. It's pronounced Fahuagans. All right. So in between now and then, when we dive back into the great sea of goblins, you can find all of these fun people doing things on the internet. I will let them tell you where to do that. Let's start with Dave, because Dave, you made a thing, and people are looking at it, and it's cool.
Yeah,
Tell us
certainly
about that
did.
thing.
D&D news type stuff. The 0.1.0 version, so my very first playtestable version of a full new class for D&D, is available to look at and give feedback on. It is the Summoner class, and it has a couple of the bits and bobs done up to level 5. You can find that on my Twitter if you would like to test it, at Dave_the_human. And I also stream on Twitch at Dave_human.
Very nice. Yeah, it's a cool class, and it's very Dave. Like reading it, I was like, this is you've taken a chance to make D&D more complicated, and I'm here for it.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, well we'll keep rotating around. Lauren, go next.
Hello, I am Lauren, or Random Tuesday. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet at Random Tuesday. I am currently working on a jewel on the far coast. From the far coast. I don't even remember my own character's name. It's
fine.
very
It's
long.
a long name, and you never.
I'm making a
introduced yourself,
stabby tabby cosplay,
There it
and I'm
is.
also helping Blue Jay make her Makari Arata cosplay. So if you want to come check some of that out, we're gonna work on it tomorrow on my Stram. I made metal boobs, aka breastplate.
Metal boobs. Perfect. Good. Excellent. Up above Lauren over here, it's Elf.
Oh, hey, friends. It's me, Distracted Elf. You can find my shit at twitch.tv/DistractedElf or on Twitter at DistractedElf. I have been playing Total War 3 Kingdoms, and it's pretty good. I highly recommend. And what else have I been doing? I'm doing a Divinity 2 playthrough with my dear partner, Siobhan, and that's pretty fun as well. I don't know when we're doing it this week, but we do like one episode a week. So it's pretty
Nice. Excellent. Cool. I won't make you spoil it, but I gotta go find the VOD where you talk about what happened to your LARP character.
Holy shit, that weekend. Like the reason I wasn't here last week is I had a long weekend of LARP. And
I heard it got real.
Jesus Christ. If you watch any one LARP story that I have ever told, this one. This one is the one. I have a clip that'll convince you. I'll find a link to it and I'll put it in chat.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. And then last but not least, over here, responsible for the corruption of teenage cultists everywhere, it's Blue Jay.
It's me. Just like a warning that Macaria is evil.
Yes.
She's evil. She's an evil person. She's not neutral. She's not like funny, evil, quotation marks. She's evil, evil. So like I'm just gotta keep saying that. But you can find me, who is not evil, on twitch.tv/bluejay or over on Twitter at bluejay_712. And you can find lots of things I do over on my website, bluejay.tv/portfolio. It's all there, my roleplay stuff.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming, everybody. This has been a very special double episode for us. But if this is the first time you're seeing this group play Dungeons & Dragons and you're like, damn, that was cool, definitely go check out everybody's stuff. You can find more of us playing together over on the Roll20 YouTube channel, which is Roll20 app on YouTube. We played Dragon Heist, we played Tomb of Annihilation, we did some Adventurers League, we've done the first 2 levels of Mad Mage, so yeah, we've been playing games together for a long time. So if you like this, you can go check that out. And if you were watching and you were like, look at all the tokens and the maps and all that cool stuff, all of that is part of the marketplace version, the Roll20 marketplace version of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. We're doing the 3rd or 4th adventure, but there are, I think, 6 or 7 of them throughout. So if you're starting a new campaign or you're looking for an adventure to slot in there, Ghosts of Saltmarsh might be of use to you. And if you want, you can go and check out a much larger overview of it on my YouTube channel. It should be live now. And you can find that linked on my Twitter at SkinnyGhost. So that's it for us. Go play role-playing games. We will see you next time. Thank you for coming. Bye, y'all.